What's a luxury that many people don't realize is a luxury? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Hot showers. My graduate advisor in the southeastern USA taught a class on edible invertebrates. They would learn about a group of invertebrate animals each week and then eat them. The very first week, he gave each student a glass of tap water and had them drink it. Then he told them that they were a small percentage of people worldwide who could do what they just did and not have to worry about ingesting any number of critters. I had that class the next year and it was pretty fun, although the pickled jellyfish was absolutely foul to me. 25 years later and I still remember that lesson. Story 2. Healthy since birth. This is important. In 1900s, the infant mortality rate was approximately 157 deaths per 1,000 births. Today, the infant mortality rate is approximately 5.4 deaths per 1,000 births. That's actually considered high by today's standards. There was even a disease called Summers' complaint that affected infants and young children. It was acute diarrhea due to bacterial contamination in food and often related to poor hygiene. Adults were usually better prepared to survive it. But its name is so not that scary when it should be. Story 3. Laundry machines. I'm from Europe, Ireland, but have lived in several countries and it's incredibly rare to not have your own washing machine. Moved to Canada for a year and had to share 5 washers and 5 dryers for a whole 14-story apartment building, which took some getting used to. Here, more of a luxury would be a dryer in addition to a washing machine. A lot of people will still hang dry their clothes either indoors on a clothes horse, I hate this but the weather is terrible here, or outside on a washing line. Personally, I dry my clothes outside on the line if the weather allows it. Makes my clothes smell so much cleaner and fresher, is less harsh on the clothes, and it's free. I have a dryer but try to refrain from using it unless I really have to, although it would get fairly regular use in winter when it's damp outside all the time. Story 4. Knowing where your next meal is coming from. Getting out of bed in the morning and having a comfortable place to pee. My toilet is about 70 years old and my home wasn't well maintained before I moved in. Yesterday, the only toilet stopped working and the plumber said it would be $600 million more to fix it on a Sunday than it would on a Monday. It's a very extensive job that involves replacing massive amounts of built-in piping, so I agreed to fix it on a Monday instead. It's also winter here in Australia. Waking up at 5 a.m. for work and having to pee over the edge of my bathtub, and the realization that many people don't even have a clean porcelain tub they can pee in? Even worse. Story 5. My country is experiencing drought and we get 1/2 hours of running water every day. I don't think most Americans realize how lucky they are to have clean running water. In China, we used to have to brush our teeth with water from water bottles. As of April 2024, Flint, Michigan was still dealing with its water crisis, which began 10 years earlier when the city switched its water source and caused high levels of lead and other contaminants in the tap water. I cannot imagine not being able to drink a glass of water, cook, bathe, or safely care for my family without clean drinking water. This is what wars will soon be fought over, not oil. Edit. Flint water is meeting EPA standards, but not for all residents. Story 6. Shopping for groceries without checking prices. I feel this. There were times I used to sit outside of the store and just cry, wondering how I would get enough food for the week. I used a calculator meticulously to make sure I wouldn't be embarrassed at checkout. At times, I ate nothing but sandwiches, thanks to the bread and ramen noodles. My then partner and I would share 1 grilled cheese and 1 can of soup for a nice weekend meal. Going out was incredibly rare. Only birthdays, really, and then we shared food. Now, I never forget those times because I am blessed enough that I can eat whatever food I want. I can afford all of the bills and gas from my car. I can pay for car repairs instead of just hoping it works each day. I regularly help out those less fortunate and donate to the local mission, food pantry, and directly to students in need at my school. I give stuff away for free versus selling it on Marketplace. Don't ever, ever, ever forget how others live. It's humbling to go through, but without the struggle, we can't fully appreciate the easier times. Story 7. Open-minded, loving, supportive, understanding, and caring parents. This is the single most prolific factor in determining a child's success in developed countries, in my opinion. And by success, I don't just mean material success, I mean emotionally and relationally, as well as their career path. I did a paper in college specifically about the outcomes of families with and without involved parents. The statistics are frightening. It cannot be understated how important supportive parents are for a child's development and life outcome. It's not just about money either. I would rather have healthy, supportive parents with modest means than rich, emotionally abusive parents any day of the week. I've seen both firsthand, and no amount of money can shield you from having to work through lifelong trauma caused by your well-off yet manipulative and emotionally stunted parents. Story 8. Free time. This is my favorite luxury of them all. In my experience, it requires money, which is the only reason money is important to me. Money to be off work and all of the bills still get paid, but also money to enjoy that free time however I please. From a young adult, I made free time my mission, and I've been blessed to have a lot of it. Edit. Someone just mentioned health. I can't believe I forgot about that one. If we are considering good health a luxury, then it's hands down my favorite. Without it, my free time wouldn't be the same at all. Story 9. Air travel. People complain about everything. The seats are too small, it costs too much, food sucks, the flight was delayed. But it's pretty amazing to pay a few $100s and arrive on the other side of the country or globe the same day. And if you go to a random rural town, you'll meet a ton of people who have never been on an airplane. I lived in the middle of nowhere in northern Michigan, and when I told people I'd flown a few dozen times, they looked at me like I was an alien. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I am one of the only people left who is still amazed by the idea that you can get in an aluminum tube, fly through the air, and land in a place that a century ago would have taken days or weeks to get to. Story 10. Auto pay for bills and utilities. If you don't need to check your account to pay a bill, that's living a good life for me. This is why I can't help but feel like there's just fundamentally something wrong with people that are so driven to be filthy rich, multi-millionaires and billionaires. My spouse and I don't have kids, and I make good money from my job. Nothing spectacular, but good enough money that I can set all my bills to auto pay and don't have to worry about prices at the grocery store, etc., and I'm content with that. For me, at my age, you realize time is a precious commodity, and taking on more stress and giving away more time to make more and more money. I just don't see the appeal and how that would make me any happier. Story 11. Air conditioning. This, and strong AC at that. I'm a millennial from the American South, where people take for granted that everywhere has strong AC running 24/7 in the sun. Nicer places are expected to even be chilly even during the peak summer heat, so if you work there, you might need a light sweater inside while it's sweltering out. However, I just took a vacation to Europe, and it was shocking how different it was. I started sweating before breakfast and didn't stop until after I fell asleep. And everywhere we stayed had AAC, but they all seemed to struggle to lower the temperature by even 1 Celsius. It was miserable, though still a great experience otherwise. I've also lived in Colorado, where AAC also wasn't common at the time, though they were beginning to install it in newer homes. But Colorado is different from Europe, at least the parts we just visited. In Colorado, you can sweat in the sun, take a few steps to the side, and shiver in the shade, but in the parts of Europe we went to, you could only sweat. I know there's more austere environments where it's more expected to be so hot, but it was just shocking to be in a nice hotel in a large city sweating as you just sat. Story 12. Vacations. The ability to willingly take time off work and travel to anywhere else just for fun is something most people will never get to experience. This is so true. My husband and I have been together for 8 years, and we've had 2 vacations. First one, we had lasted 28 hours. We visited another province. And the last one we took was great because it was 3 days and 2 nights, even though it was 20 minutes from our town. We've never been able to do a week-long getaway, maybe someday. Story 13. Meat being plentiful and affordable. I had a friend who moved to the United States from Bulgaria. There are lots of things he told me about his life back in Bulgaria that made me realize how much I took for granted. Growing up in a developed country, getting to school each morning was a 2-hour train ride. His childhood home was heated by a wood furnace that took an hour to get going. The only toys and games available were, and I am quoting him here, the things Russia didn't want. But the one that most rang to me, the one I'll never forget, was when he saw a commercial with a freezer stocked full of meat, laughed, and said, "Who freezes meat?" I thought he was kidding, but no, he wasn't. Turns out, for a lot of people around the world, the idea of having so much meat that you can freeze it and save it for later is a fantasy. On this line, refrigeration is actually one of, if not the biggest obstacle to charitable food donations to impoverished areas, especially Africa. It also negatively impacts the agricultural market, as without climate-controlled transportation and storage, the distance fresh food can be transported and still sold or consumed shrinks rapidly. If anyone is looking for that charitable endeavor that isn't cool enough for anyone else to do, this is the one. I've never heard anyone saying donate now to provide a small community with a walk-in freezer to help preserve their harvest and other items, but man, it could make a huge difference to millions of people. Story 14. Having spending money is not living paycheck to paycheck. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, and now that my career is coming to an end and I've steadily paid my bills over the past few decades, I'm finally out of debt. No mortgage payment, no car payment, cell phone, internet, and utilities are all I've got. It sure is nice to go out to eat, put gas in the car, or buy groceries without having to check my bank account, which is slowly growing regardless. It's nice to always see a bigger balance regardless of incidental expenses like gas or groceries. I mean, I pretty much do what I want knowing that, should I check my account, there will be more in it than the last time I checked. It really negates the necessity to even check my balance. I can go buy a new TV or put tires on my car whenever I want. Maybe some new rims? Nah, I've got a 1982 GE refrigerator. I'll just go buy a new one. This is a luxury. Many friends and family are stuck in what I used to be, paycheck to paycheck. And it sucks having to put something off or figure it out because you can keep the car from getting repoed or fix the broken washing machine, but not both. Looks like another day at the laundromat. Don't think I'm not grateful or have forgotten how much living paycheck to paycheck sucks in today's economy. It's sad that having spending money is now a luxury. Story 15. Time. Time is a luxury. Time for yourself, for your family. One part of the world struggles to make a living and have no time left for leisure because they need safety, food, and shelter. Another part is following the money and investing all the energy to collect those little green bills and have no time for themselves. It is my luxury that I have a job, which gives me shelter and food and some money for hobbies, but still lets me have I quit a job once, which was stealing my time. I refused to take a higher position, which would have requested more time. I earn less money now, but have more time. And I am not working myself into an early grave. Standing in a little lake, training your kid to swim, telling stories in the evening, being there when needed has much more value than this new super-duper SUV. I had to learn that. There are no pockets in your last suit. You cannot take money with you, but you can smile when you lived your life. And this is a luxury for me. A luxury to be born in a country with no war and with good schools and university. A luxury to get jobs that earn you a living but let you have time. This is not the standard. How lucky are we? Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.